Hello from the Winter Park floor of the library. I'm Teresa, and this is...
I'm Haley.
And we are analyzing Standing Female Nude. It's a poem by Carol Ann Duffy. Our thesis for this poem is... What's our thesis?
It's that the poem highlights the differences in class and the objectification of women by men.
Alright.
Do know that this is how we're filming this.
Alright, so first we're going to talk about the speaker. The speaker is self-proclaimed. From the reading we can oh wow, this is kind of weird. Understand that she's a French prostitute, and we know that from... Where's my evidence? Oh, okay. We have the image of a river whore. So she classifies herself as a river whore. And there's also some, although Duffy is very ambiguous in her writing, as she usually is, there is more evidence to identify her class. 6 hours like this for a few francs. So she's obviously, she's posing for a picture or to be painted for only a few francs. So 6 hours of labor for so few francs is identification that she's pretty poor. And where's the second identification?
As the guy.
Oh, okay. And she says herself, we are both poor, but we make our living how we can. So she identifies herself and the speaker, well, herself and the other speaker, the painter, as both poor. So there's two people who speak in this poem, but the main speaker is definitely the subject of the painting herself.
Occasion.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Up here, next is the occasion. We can tell from right here, belly, nipple, arse, in the window light. He drains the color from me. A man is painting her picture. And then also it relates to the speaker in that she's doing it because she needs money.
Cool. The audience, she speaks to anybody who's really listening. There's no specific audience, so I guess we can classify that as a general audience. The next thing we have is purpose. The purpose of this poem, there's a constant theme of mockery, and, well, she is poor, and she is highlighting the difference between herself and the people who view her and how they view her. So they only see her through great museums, and they call her art. So it's highlighting the differences in classes. I think that's the main thing that we should get out of this poem. How she is so poor, and what she's doing because of it, and how other people experience her poorness, I guess, through art. It's also objectifying. She's being objectified by a man, so she's being defined literally in a painting made by a man. So it kind of shows a sort of dominance over her. There's evidence of this. He possesses me on canvas. He dips his brush repeatedly into the paint. So she's literally possessed by him in his painting.
Another, he's objecting her in, you're getting thin, madam, this is not good. He's commenting on her body.
So all these clues that lead to, are we talking about purpose? Yeah, purpose of the poem. You can take subject.
The subject, it's pretty simple. The literal subject is the painter painting the nude prostitute.
The tone of the poem, as we said earlier, it's very mocking. she's comfortable within her social class, but she is mocking the people who are looking at her. So the bourgeoisie will coo at such an image of a river whore. They call it art. So they see her as just art, and she thinks that's the word coo is definitely very mocking. Also, in the end,
Smile confuses him.
oh yeah, so where is that?
My smile confuses him. These artists take themselves too seriously.
Oh, found it. Yeah. So these artists take themselves too seriously. It's very mocking of the painter himself. His name is Georges. So she obviously doesn't feel too fondly towards him, but she does what she has to because she has to make a living.
The structure of this poem, there's obviously 3 stanzas, but a lot of the times when she's speaking, such as with belly, nipple, arse, there's a lack of punctuation, and so her language is much more the way when she speaks, it's much more fluid than when the artist is speaking. He speaks down in the bottom when he says, I have to, there's no choice, don't talk. They're using caesura, and it contrasts between the way that he speaks and the way that she speaks, and that hers is very fluid and sensual, and his is very to the point.
The title of the poem, it's called Standing Female Nude. So usually when we say this is a classification of a poem, when we're looking at art, we would classify it as a standing female nude, but the poem contradicts in itself because the whole of the piece is her own voice, and so this adds on the objectification. She's looked at as merely a standing female nude, while she has this whole voice and experience that we experience within the poem. And she also this is a standing. I thought it was kind of interesting that it also refers to her stagnant place in society as a woman and as a prostitute.
Our theme, as mentioned before, the objectification of women and the oppression of class or gender. In a lot of it, and then also the one thing we haven't touched on yet is the meaning of art, and we see that in here they call it art. Obviously, she doesn't see the portrait of herself as art, but other people see that it is. And in His Name is Georges, they tell me he's a genius. She doesn't see that what he's doing is art, but there's a wide group of people that do. And so that the meaning of art adds to the differences in classes, and that she's lower class and she doesn't see the art behind what he's doing, but people in the higher class, like the queen gazing on her shape, observe it as a piece of art.
Yeah, that's true. And also another thing, there's also a contradiction in art. So how the upper class, this is all bourgeoisie. We see like how they feel about her, and how the upper class views the lower class, while she has her own voice in talking about her own version of art, where for I sell the arts. So she's talking about her profession as a prostitute here. She's talking directly to the painting in this verse, where little man, you've not got the money for the arts I sell. So this is definitely ironic, because the arts she originally references is capitalized, while her art is only punctuated in lowercase. So just a difference in the meaning of art. Last thing is, two more things. Imagery. There's lots of imagery within the play, mostly visual and kinesthetic. So she talks about her breast hanging. This is, I think I said it was visual imagery, and then how he comments on her thinness and appearance, and the kinesthetic comes from the cold, how she's almost filled with warmth. We feel very comfortable. She's free flowing, especially we see that originally in her punctuation, how she just flows. Her sentences don't stop. His name is Georges, but he's cold. He's very contrasting with her because we see this in the punctuation. So that's the difference there between the two, and that adds to the imagery of the piece.
The last thing we have is figurative language. There's a lot of figurative language in the sense that kind of a lot of the poem is ironic in that I can see the Queen of England gazing on my shape, magnificent, she murmurs, moving on, it makes me laugh. And so she thinks it's ironic that the Queen of England would be looking upon her. Another thing that's used quite often is innuendo. There are times when he does not concentrate and stiffens for my warmth. This is phallic in nature, and so he wants her warmth and that he lusts after her. Other things are he possesses me on canvas. Not only is he painting her, but possesses her sexually.
Yeah, dips the brush. It's all very sensual language. Well, that's the conclusion of our soapstone stiff. I think we can go back into anything we forgot. Let's look at this little sheet. There's no punctuation also in the difference between his speech and her speech, so it was kind of hard to identify where he was speaking and where she was speaking. So because it's all from her point of view, but he talks to her in the first person, so the scene is very fluid in nature, how she experiences him and how she experiences the situation, yet it contrasts with the stiffness and the contrast between the not parallel, they're very different characters, I would say. They are both displayed through the art that they create, where the bourgeoisie are looking, and then she assimilates herself to him through we both are poor, we both make our living how we can. So in that way that they're similar. They're both from the lower class. I mean, he's obviously not a rich guy. He's just an artist in probably some European country. We're assuming France, because that would kind of parallel to the French class struggle at the time. But obviously they're both very poor. But she's on display through a painting, while he's on display through his art. So they say he's a genius. He's known for his art, and she's only known for being displayed through this art. So,
the most, arguably one of the most important lines is, "It does not look like me." This comments on the type of painting that it was. The art is described as analytical. It's also described as maybe he is concerned with volume and space. And then when you research an artist from France named Georges, what comes up is an artist called Georges Braque, and he was a Cubist artist. So quite literally, it does not look like her, but also it reflects with the theme of the objectification that she is going through, because the whole poem is just getting to know her, but the painting doesn't reflect any of that.
And we also printed up a copy of this painting so you can see it. So this is the painting that Georges Braque, his standing female nude, and this is, I guess it's almost her story behind this painting. And so Duffy is commenting on how this painting is not really her at all. It's just a bunch of lines on a canvas, in this case copy paper. So that concludes our commentary on Standing Female Nude, and I hope you like it. Thanks.